Hello, and welcome to the Motorcycle Rescue Channel. Interesting thing happened today. Previous owner dropped by from, he's got an apartment next door that he's no longer living in, but he came by to pick up some stuff. He told me that the oil, this particular part, which he was using to add oil to the engine, because the oil filler cap is now obscured by an aftermarket exhaust system, got broken to the point where all the corners on the six-sided nut were rounded, and he couldn't add oil to the bike, which eventually forced him to stop riding the bike. So here's a new cap and here's a new washer. He said it took 6 months for these parts to arrive from Honda, which may have motivated his reason to go and buy a second bike and abandon this bike. So let's have a look and see what's inside these packages. First of all, let's take a look. This is a 91301 ML7003. Now, I said it was a washer, but I don't think it is. I think it's actually an O-ring. Well, let's have a look. Let's see what's in there. Yeah, it's an O-ring. Okay, so that's going to go on the inner lip of the cap. Now, I couldn't read the numbers, so I looked it up. It's a 11332 MZ5000, and the description online is just that it's a cap. But I think it's a little more substantial than just a basic cap, because it's pretty big. And there we go. It's a nice looking unit, and the O-ring sits inside and helps to seal the cap against the crankcase. It goes on the left side of the engine and probably uses a fairly big, I mean, it's looking like a 15 millimeter or maybe or so nut fixture, 6-sider. So a socket should fit on there, no problem. My guess is that the previous owner was using the wrong size socket, and that's what caused the corners to round. Now let's see what socket fits on there. We'll try a 14. It's got that number 14 on the back. So let's see what a 14 millimeter socket does on there. Nope, 14's too small. Let's try the biggest one I have, which is a 19. 19 is too big. 17. That's not feeling great. Okay, and 16. That's interesting. So 17 is loose fit, but 16 is too small. So it's between 17 and 16. That's very strange. This is 11/16 and 5/8. It's too small. So we have a mystery size here. So it's no wonder it got rounded, because the owner was probably using a 17 when it's actually more like a 17 and a half size. That's definitely too big. That's definitely too small, so they're out. So that leaves us with 16 and 17 millimeters, and this thing is somewhere in between the two of those. And if we go with Imperial, this is a bit too big. That's 11/16. And this is too small. And that's 5/8, and they're right beside each other in the socket set. So, that's a very interesting and weird thing to happen. If anybody knows anything about this, I'd like to know more, because I'm not used to Japanese motorcycle parts having this kind of play. I'm used to them being like an exact fit. Well, if anybody knows anything about this situation, please tell me, because these are too big and too small. And that's just kind of weird. I'm out of sockets. The only one I have left is my spark plug socket, and that's way too big. I've never seen anything like it. It's neither Imperial nor metric. Bizarre. The other thing I'll do is I'll put the part numbers for the cap and the O-ring in the description. So I'm going to install this when I do the oil change on the motorcycle, which is coming up imminently. This is part 2 on the diagram, and the O-ring is part 11 on the diagram. So maybe it's a 14 millimeter. We'll see. And there we are. We've got a cap, fits on the left side of the crankcase. The O-ring is already fitted. I'll pop it out and put some oil on it to make sure we get a good seal, and then I'll be using that to add oil, because the oil filler cap is obscured, as I mentioned earlier, by the aftermarket exhaust, which looks really cool, but makes adding oil in the place where you're supposed to add oil impossible. So that's it. I'm pretty excited. I'm very grateful to the owner for giving me the parts that he ordered. I don't know how much he paid for them, but online this cap was, in England, was £27, and the O-ring was around $4. So that's £30 worth of, that's about $40 US worth of parts. So it was really nice of him to just come by and give them to me. All right, well, we're going to see how they look soon, and thank you for watching.